On vacation, my parents literally threw me out of my hotel room so my spoiled sister and her kids could take it. They told me to sleep anywhere or just fly home. Instead, I rented the most expensive penthouse. 3 days later, they regretted everything. My name is Danielle, and I'm the younger daughter, the one people remember when all the chairs at the table are already taken. Every Sunday, I drag myself to my parents' house in a cookie-cutter suburb just outside Chicago for family dinner. Lately, I've been running out of excuses not to go, so I just park my dented Toyota Corolla at the curb, take a deep breath, and ring the bell. As usual, my older sister Monica is already holding court in the living room. Her husband Brian hovers nearby while their kids, Sophie and Tyler, tear through the house like tiny tornadoes, taking out everything in their path. "Danny, you finally decided to show up," Mom calls out, barely glancing up from rearranging napkins on the table. No hug, no warmth. Just a mild scolding, like I'm the late Uber Eats driver. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, Dad." Dad gives me a brief nod, but he's busy locked in a passionate debate with Brian about the eternal rivalry between the Bears and the Packers. I hang my jacket and head toward the dining room just in time to hear Mom's voice flip into worship mode. "You should have heard what the teacher said at the conference," she gushes. "Sophie is reading 2 grade levels ahead, and Tyler's coach from that elite sports academy thinks he'll make the starting lineup next year." Monica soaks it in like a paper towel in a puddle. "Well, I do Kumon with Sophie every night," she says modestly, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "And I drive Tyler to extra practices 3 times a week. It's a lot, but what won't you do for your kids?" I sit down quietly. My presence barely registers. No one asks how my week was. No one asks about my job. No one ever does. What they don't know, and have never bothered to find out, is that 3 months ago, I pulled one of our biggest clients back from the edge of total collapse, got a fat bonus, and a promotion to senior project manager at a major tech company. The kind of salary that would make Brian choke on his craft beer. "Pass the potatoes, Danny," Monica says, giving me that look. The one that says, poor Danny. Still single. Still renting that sad little 1-bedroom. Still nobody. I pass the potatoes. Take a sip of wine. Another secret they don't know. A few weeks back, I asked my friend Kelsey, she works at a real estate agency and practically lives on Zillow, to help me find a place to buy. I'd finally saved enough for a down payment. With my new salary, a mortgage wasn't going to kill me. Why tell my family? Best case, they'd act like it was no big deal. Worst case, they'd find a way to make it about Monica. Somehow. So I kept my mouth shut. A month after that Sunday dinner, Kelsey called me sounding way too excited for a Tuesday. "I found it," she said. "Corner 2-bedroom, balcony, designer kitchen, new build, walking distance to the subway stop by the airport. You need to see it tonight." That evening I drove over and fell in love the second I walked in. Quartz countertops, big windows, actual sunlight, not the gray mush I get in my rental. "This is it, Kelsey," I said, running my hand along the island. "I'm taking it. Start the paperwork." 2 weeks later, I signed the mortgage. I was officially a homeowner. The feeling was unreal. Pride, accomplishment, freedom, all rolled into one. I thought about telling my parents, but decided to hold it until the next Sunday dinner. Just once, I wanted to share good news and have it actually land. When Sunday rolled around, I drove to my parents' place with my secret burning a hole in my chest. But the second I walked in, I knew something was off. The air was buzzing. Monica's kids were bouncing off the walls more than usual, and my parents were practically glowing. "What's the occasion?" I asked, hanging up my jacket. Mom and Dad exchanged conspiratorial looks.
"We've decided,"
Dad announced grandly.
"The whole family is going on vacation to Florida, a resort near the Gulf Coast. Can you get the time off?"
I paused. I hadn't had a real vacation in 2 years, and there were no urgent projects on my plate. "Yeah," I said. "I can take 2 weeks." Mom's face lit up. "Wonderful! The whole family together in Florida. It'll be magical." Her happiness caught me off guard. She actually seemed pleased I was coming. That was new, and for a moment I let myself feel included.
"We fly out in 2 weeks,"
Dad explained.
"We've been planning for a while, but wanted to make sure everyone could go before announcing it."
I sat down. My news about the condo quietly slid to second place. A family vacation didn't sound so bad. Maybe away from the usual routine, they'd finally see me differently. Dinner continued with everyone talking over each other about Florida, what to pack, where to go, what to eat. My condo stayed my secret a little longer. The following Sunday, I showed up expecting more excited chatter about the trip. Instead, I walked into a funeral-level mood. Monica was slumped at the table, eyes puffy from crying. The kids were uncharacteristically quiet, doodling at the coffee table. "What happened?" I asked, setting my bag down. Mom and Dad exchanged worried glances. Monica sniffled dramatically before answering. "Brian and I had a huge fight," she said, voice shaking. "He refuses to pay for my ticket to Florida. Says I just sit at home and don't deserve a vacation." I bit my tongue to stop myself from pointing out that she literally does not lift a finger at home. Brian hired a housekeeper last year because housework gives Monica migraines. "So you're not going?" I clarified. Monica shook her head sadly. "Not unless Brian changes his mind. And he won't. He's stubborn as a mule."
"It's okay,"
Dad said, patting Mom's hand.
"We'll plan another family trip later. This won't be our last chance."
The rest of dinner dragged by in gloomy tones. Everyone took turns comforting Monica about her tyrant husband. I stayed quiet, feeling a strange mix of sympathy and irritation. On one hand, Brian shouldn't be controlling the entire family budget on his own. On the other, Monica really doesn't do anything. By the time I left, one thing was clear. Florida would be just me and my parents. 2 weeks later, I spent the evening before the trip in my old rental, packing. Most of my things were already moved into the new condo, but I'd left a few pieces at the old place so it still looked lived in. I still hadn't told my family I'd moved. I'd planned to surprise them after the vacation. The next morning, I met my parents at O'Hare. We checked in, boarded a Delta flight, and a couple of hours later landed in Tampa. Warm, salty air hit us the moment we stepped out of the plane. Despite my doubts about spending 10 days with my parents, I felt a little ripple of excitement. Our hotel was about a 20-minute drive from the airport. The kind of mid-range beachfront place with a decent pool and direct access to the sand. It was called the Pearl, because of course it was. At the front desk, a friendly young woman named Christina greeted us. "We're fully booked on standard rooms," she told me cheerfully. "You were lucky to reserve when you did. Right now we only have suites and penthouses open. Those are a different price point." "Got it. Thanks." I took my key card. My room was simple but clean. Queen bed, small balcony, shower. Exactly what I needed. I unpacked, changed into shorts and a tank top, and met my parents by the pool for cocktails. The first 2 days we explored the area, swam in the ocean, adjusted to a slower pace. And you know what? It was actually nice. Away from home, my parents seemed more relaxed, less obsessed with comparing me to Monica. I caught myself enjoying their company more than I had in years. On the 3rd day, everything went to hell. I was in my room, rubbing in sunscreen and getting ready for a lazy morning on the beach, when someone started pounding on the door like the place was on fire. I opened it to find my parents with anxious faces. Behind them stood Monica, hair wild, eyes frantic, Sophie and Tyler clinging to her hands.
"Monica?"
I blurted.
"What on earth are you doing here?"
Monica collapsed theatrically onto my bed.
"Brian and I are done,"
she declared. "We had a huge blow-up. I couldn't stand being in that house for another second, so I grabbed cash from his emergency stash and bought tickets for me and the kids."
"You stole money from your husband?"
I couldn't hide the shock. Monica shot me a death glare.
"It's our money,"
she snapped. "Even if he manages it, I earned this vacation. And so did the kids." Mom nodded supportively. "Of course you did, honey. But where are you staying?" I glanced at their suitcases.
"You booked a room, right?"
Monica and my parents exchanged a look. "That's the thing," Monica said, her voice suddenly small. "The money only covered the flights. There wasn't enough left for a hotel. I thought maybe—" The realization hit me like a bucket of ice water. Christina's words from check-in echoed in my head. All standard rooms fully booked. Only pricey suites left.
"Exactly,"
Dad said, looking right at me with a calmness that made my skin crawl. The room went quiet. Everyone stared at me, expectant. Finally, Mom broke the silence.
"Danny, you need to pack up your things."
"What?" For a second, I thought I'd misheard. Mom sighed, as if she was explaining something deeply obvious. "Sweetheart, think logically. Monica has the kids. Your father and I are comfortable in our room. You're alone. It makes sense for you to give up your room so Monica and the children can stay there." I stared at her.
"You're asking me to move out of my room," I repeated slowly. "So Monica, who arrived uninvited with no hotel money, can have it?"
Mom's expression hardened.
"Don't be selfish. You're one person. They're 3. You can find another place. Or fly home early. Or just sleep on the couch somewhere,"
Dad added, as if this was a perfectly reasonable suggestion. Monica looked around my room like she was already mentally redecorating.
"There's plenty of space,"
she said. "Kids can sleep in the bed with me. I'm sure you'll figure something out, Danny."
I laughed. I actually laughed.
That hysterical, slightly unhinged laugh that slips out when reality takes a sharp left. Mom didn't find it funny.
"Enough,"
she snapped. And then, to my absolute shock, she marched over to the closet, yanked out my suitcase, and started throwing my clothes into it.
"Mom, stop!"
I yelled, grabbing for the suitcase. She ignored me, stuffing my things in random piles. When the suitcase was full, she zipped it shut and rolled it into the hallway.
"There,"
she said briskly. "Now Monica and the kids can settle in." I stood there, stunned. Monica was already telling Sophie and Tyler where to put their backpacks on the bed. Dad was collecting my toiletries from the bathroom into a plastic bag. I could have fought harder. I could have called the front desk and demanded they kick my family out. The room was in my name. I could have made a scene big enough that the hotel staff would still be telling the story to their grandkids. But standing there, looking at these people who were supposed to be my family, something inside me cracked, then solidified into something sharper, clearer. Without a word, I grabbed my purse and walked out, leaving my suitcase where Mom had shoved it in the hallway. Behind me, I could hear my parents and Monica already discussing who would sleep where. My first impulse was to book the next flight back to Chicago, but when I reached the front desk, a better idea started forming. I suddenly remembered what Christina had said about the suites and penthouses. She looked up when I approached. Her friendly smile faltered when she saw my face. "Ms. Danielle, is everything okay?" she asked. "Not really," I said honestly. "But we're about to fix that. You mentioned penthouses?" Her eyes widened slightly. "Yes, we do have a few," she said carefully. "But they're significantly more expensive than standard rooms." "How much?" She named a number that would have given me a heart attack 2 years ago. Now I didn't even blink. "I'll take your best one," I said. "Please." I followed the bellhop, who had collected my abandoned suitcase from the hallway outside my old room. We took a private elevator to the top floor. When he opened the door to my new place, I couldn't stop the small gasp. The penthouse was stunning. Spacious, elegantly furnished, with floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the ocean. The living room flowed into a dining area and a fully equipped kitchen. Beyond that, a huge bedroom with a California king bed. I opened the complimentary bottle of California Chardonnay, poured myself a generous glass, and stepped out onto the terrace. The sun was sinking into the water, painting the sky in orange and pink. Leaning on the railing, I raised my glass. "To knowing your worth." I took a long drink. That night I slept like the dead, sprawled starfish style across the enormous bed with sheets that felt like clouds. In the morning I woke up to a gentle knock, room service bringing a complimentary breakfast. After eating on the terrace, I decided to head down to the beach. Crossing the lobby, I spotted my parents and Monica with the kids by the entrance. Judging by their outfits and general "we're suffering" vibe, they were heading out to find breakfast somewhere cheap. The hotel restaurant was clearly out of their budget now that they were paying for 2 rooms instead of 1. "Danny, there you are," Monica called, waving like we were just cousins who'd bumped into each other at a resort by accident. I walked over slowly, keeping my expression neutral. "So?" Mom asked with a smug little smile. "Where did you end up staying last night?" "Found another hotel," I said. Dad at least had the decency to look vaguely embarrassed. Before I could say anything else, Christina materialized at my elbow like a well-trained sorceress. "Ms. Danielle," she said, "I wanted to confirm your reservation for tonight. As one of our VIP guests, we've reserved the best spot for you on the beach." My family's expressions shifted from smug to stunned in under a second. "VIP guest?" Mom repeated. Christina beamed. "Yes. Ms. Danielle is staying in our premier penthouse, so she has access to all our exclusive services, including private dinners at our fine dining restaurant." She turned to me. "Will your family be joining you for lunch, Ms. Danielle?" Their faces were priceless. Monica's jaw dropped. Mom's eyes bulged. Dad looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. "No," I said calmly. "They won't be joining me." "Of course," Christina said smoothly. "Then I hope you all enjoy breakfast at Sunrise Buffet." She nodded politely at my family, referring to the cheap cafeteria 2 blocks away that every budget tourist flocked to. I gave my stunned relatives a casual little wave and headed to the beach, feeling lighter than I had in years. I spent the rest of the day enjoying every perk 5-star service could throw at me. I booked a massage at the spa, sprawled in a private cabana while staff brought me tropical drinks, swam in the ocean when the sun got too hot. I didn't think about my family once. That evening, I went back up to the penthouse to shower and change for dinner. The restaurant had a dress code, and I'd brought a little black dress specifically for a night like this. I was putting on earrings when someone knocked. Through the peephole, I saw the whole crew, parents, Monica, kids, all holding luggage. For a moment, I seriously considered pretending I wasn't home, but curiosity won. I opened the door, blocking the entrance with my body. "What do you want?" I asked. Mom didn't wait for an invitation. She squeezed past me into the penthouse. Dad, Monica, and the kids followed. "Wow," Monica breathed, spinning around slowly. "This place is amazing." Sophie immediately flopped onto the couch. Tyler pressed his face against the window. I stepped in front of them. "Out," I said. "Now." "Danny, don't be like that," Mom scolded. "We've checked out of our rooms. Monica and the kids left yours too. We'll all just stay here together. There's more than enough space." I almost laughed again. "No," I said, once I found my voice. "You're not staying here. This is my room. I'm paying for it. You're not welcome." Monica stepped forward, her voice oozing sugar. "Come on, Danny. Don't be selfish. Look at all this room. We're family." "Family?" I felt my temper spike. Family doesn't throw someone out of their hotel room. Family doesn't turn their vacation into someone else's problem. Family actually cares about your life and celebrates your wins. "This is ridiculous," Monica snapped. "We already checked out of the other rooms." "Sounds like a you problem," I said. To quote Dad from earlier, "Danny, be reasonable," Dad said. "We can make this work." Or, I replied, picking up the room phone, "You can leave before I call security." "You wouldn't dare," Monica said. I dialed. "Front desk?" I said when they picked up. "I need security sent to my room to remove some unwanted guests." When I hung up, their righteous fury shifted to panic. "You're not serious," Mom whispered. "Completely serious," I said. "You need to go." "But where are we supposed to stay?" Monica's voice shook. "All the affordable rooms are booked." There was a knock. Christina arrived with 2 security guards. "Is there a problem, Ms. Danielle?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "These people need to leave my room and are refusing." Christina turned to my family. "I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to come with me," she said politely. "Wait," Mom blurted. "What about our old rooms? Can we go back?" Christina shook her head sympathetically. "I'm sorry, but as I explained at checkout, those rooms have already been assigned to new guests." As she led them out, Mom looked back over her shoulder. "This isn't over, Danielle." I closed the door without answering. On the terrace, my phone was buzzing nonstop. I finally picked it up. Text from Mom. "We're in a tiny roadside motel by the beach. 1 room for all 5 of us. The bathroom smells like mold. Hope you're happy." Text from Monica. "The kids are crying because the sheets are dirty. How can you do this to them?" I turned the phone off and set it aside. Their guilt trips might have worked once. Not anymore. For the first time in my life, I was responsible only for myself. And I was finally putting myself first. The rest of the vacation was bliss. I kept my phone off, checking it once a day in case of an actual emergency. The angry messages kept coming for 2 days, then suddenly stopped. Later I found out why. A hotel employee mentioned that my family had already flown home a couple of days earlier. Mom had left a message at the front desk. "We're going back home. Hope you're satisfied." I was more than satisfied. 2 weeks after I got back, I'd fully settled into my new condo and thrown myself into work. I channeled all the confidence I'd gained from standing up to my family straight into my job. I spoke up more in meetings, took on extra responsibilities. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't just surviving. I was building something. One afternoon, my phone rang. Mom's number. I'd been expecting that call, but my stomach still tightened. "Hello? Danielle, where are you?" Mom's tone was accusatory right out of the gate. "We went to your old apartment and they said you don't live there anymore." "That's right," I said. "I moved." Silence. Then Mom's voice came back, suddenly syrupy and curious. "You moved? Where? Give us the address. We all need to sit down, talk, and make peace." In the background, I could hear Monica whispering furiously. "I bought a place," I said. "My own place. I've got a mortgage." On the other end of the line, there was a stunned pause and then a muffled exclamation. "You bought a condo?" Mom finally managed. "When? How?" 2 months ago. I got a promotion and a pretty big raise last year, plus a bonus for that major project." "Why didn't you tell us?" Her hurt sounded genuine. It didn't move me. "When exactly was I supposed to tell you?" I asked. "At Sunday dinners where you only talk about Monica? On vacation, when you kicked me out of my room?" Another long silence. "We need to meet and talk," Mom said at last. "Family shouldn't fight. What's the address? We'll come this weekend." I took a deep breath. "No, Mom," I said. "I'm not giving you the address, and I don't want to meet. I need time away from all of you." "Danielle," her voice sharpened, "we're your family. You can't just cut us off." "Actually," I said, "I can, and until you understand why your behavior was unacceptable, that's exactly what I'm going to do." I hung up before she could respond. My heart was pounding, but my resolve was steady. In the months that followed, my family tried everything to reestablish contact. They called, they texted, they even sent emails to my work account. Some messages were furious, some were pleading, some were pure manipulation. I deleted most of them without finishing. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard that Monica and Brian's marriage was in serious trouble. The Florida incident had been the last straw. Now they were on the brink of divorce. I felt a flicker of pity for the kids. Then I reminded myself, Monica's choices are not my responsibility. I kept paying my mortgage, kept growing in my career, kept enjoying the quiet of my own space. A life finally built around my needs, not their expectations. They'd made it clear there was no room for me in the family unless I came last. So I stopped applying for a seat at their table, and for the first time in my life, I pulled up a chair for myself. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.